also seen, there are various styles of different senior advocates, and please observe them and adopt whatever you think suits you best. There was a senior advocate after we had briefed. He actually called me up on phone after the next day, before the arguments. And he said, Sumit, today in the argument, this is what I intend to argue. And he repeated that entire argument, which he had prepared on the brief given by us. And he asked for a suggestion very openly, and he's just very senior advocate. And he said, do you think we could add something more or anything that needs to change? See the humility there. There is, why have that ego or arrogance that, no, I have prepared, I'm a senior advocate, I'll just say anything and get away with it. No. Prepare, make it better. The way you argue, people will hear, people who don't know you. And if your arguments are good, and this has happened with me, they would actually come and approach you and saying that, sir, I have a case, I heard you argue, this was a brilliant argument. Can I have your number, please? So your presentation in the court is very, very important. And you need to be witty, You have your presence of mind all the time. Like I said, there are missiles coming from every direction. What the judge may ask, you don't know. How the judge may react, you don't know. So there are a lot of interesting anecdotes about being witty during court arguments. Most of you would have heard this, but let me share a few with you. Have you heard of C.K. Daftari? In fact, there's a C.K. Daftari chamber block in the Supreme Court. A very legendary senior advocate. He was the Advocate General for the state of Bombay, and he became the first Solicitor General of India, and then also the Attorney General of India. So C.K. Daftari, he was very well known for his wit. And in one particular instance, what happened was, there was a judge who had been recently elevated from amongst the lawyers. So there's always the lawyers also, in matter of process, get elevated from the bar to the bench. So this was one of those judges who had recently from the bar had reached the bench, became a judge, got elevated. And during the arguments, a book was passed to the bench. Of course, this was passed on behest of Mr. C.K. Daftari, advocate. Now, the judge objected to the fact that there was a bug found smashed in between the pages. A lot of times that happens, mosquitoes and bugs, and when you're reading a lot, this is what happens. So this was one bug found in that book, which was passed by Mr. C.K. Daftari to the bench. So when the judge objected to this, Mr. C.K. Daftari remarked, he said, "My lords, this is a very ambitious bug which has traveled all the way from the bar to the bench." So he was subtle, he was witty, and he made his point. Another very interesting incident was that of Mr. Ramjet Milani. Very witty person again, very witty lawyer. Of course, all of us know Mr. Ramjet Milani. Now, he is a senior advocate and had a roaring practice in the 90s. He was appearing before Justice T.S. Thakur, who was at that time the Chief Justice of India. And Justice Thakur made a very amusing remark by asking Mr. Jeth Milani, and we all know that Mr. Ramjet Milani was quite old. I mean, he lived up to, I think, 90, 95 years. So he asked Justice Thakur asked Mr. Jeth Milani, he says, "So, Mr. Jeth Milani, when do you intend to retire from the bar?" And immediately Mr. Ramjet Milani shot back. He said, "My lords, is my lord asking as to when I'm going to die? Lawyers never retire." So, a lot of these very interesting incidents. In fact, in the court, sometimes passions run high. And when passions run high, you have to be very careful because you don't want to spoil the mood of the judge. In fact, you have to keep them cool if you want to win your arguments. You can't push a judge. And at the same time, if you remain quiet, and don't answer them, you don't clarify things, then also it's bad. So there was this very interesting, again, one Attorney General of India, Mr. G. Ramaswamy. How the wittiness helps you calm down the situation. So on one occasion, what had happened was, and I'm sure many of you would have heard this story, it was before Justice Kuldeep Singh at that time, many years back. Now, during the course of the hearing, it had got very heated arguments. The judges also got very angry. And the judge remarked, he said, Mr. Ramaswamy, you think we are fools? Now, Ramaswamy, being the Attorney General and very witty, you know what he said? He said, in his all elegance, I wish I could copy that elegance, but of course, his words, for sure, I can tell you. He said, my lords have put me in a very difficult situation. If I agree, I will be in contempt. And if I disagree, I will end up committing perjury. So, what do? You have asked me whether judges are fools. You think we are fools? So, very wittily, he was able to tell them that, listen, what I think is right, but if I tell you the truth, it is contempt. If I say that, yes, my lord, you think right, that we think that you're fools. And if I disagree, it will be a lie. So I would have ended up committing perjury. So in both cases, I'm dead. So that's how the Mr. Ramaswamy was able to cool down the situation. So do you realize how important it is to keep your presence of mind in the court, keep your cool, and be witty? Now, judges at times can be very, very tough. You know, they can actually say anything they want and get away with it. You, of course, will spoil your mood, but never get disheartened or give up. And at the same time, no matter how disheartened or how tough a judge has been, never be rude or disrespectful towards them. The bar and the bench are part of the same family. We as lawyers are first the officers of the court and then a lawyer to our clients. In fact, I remember in one case, I was told by my client, it was a government department, and they wanted to appeal against a certain order of a division bench of the Delhi High Court. And this was my initial years of practice. I had recently become a government counsel. So I did a lot of research and found that the order was right. I mean, there was nothing wrong with the order. There was no ground for appeal made out. But then these officers, as they are, and you are just a new government counsel. So when, you know, all these government departments say, sir, our head officer said we must appeal. Please give an opinion to go and appeal. So you tend to agree. It's like, okay, if the department is saying all I have to do is write on my letterhead, let me write, nothing wrong. If they want to do it, let them do it. So I gave my opinion. And when I appeared in the court on the next hearing, and the judge asked, we had passed some directions in the last order. Did you comply with it? I said, no, my lord, my clients have decided to appeal against the order. So that's why we could not comply with the same. Judge got furious. He said, what was wrong in the order? Who advised them to go and appeal? And of course, that was me. And he had that letter, my letterhead in the court file. And he saw that and he said, oh, you have given them this thing to appeal? You've given them the opinion to appeal? What is wrong with my order, Mr. Counsel? Now, I knew from my research the fact that, of course, I had no ground to appeal. But I said, my lords, I'm extremely sorry. The clients were insisting. But I agree there is no grounds made up for going in appeal. I was very embarrassed at that time. And the judge also, he understood that, yes, he's a young lawyer, newly made government counsel. So he said, Mr. Counsel, always remember, you're first the officer of the court, then a lawyer to your client. So don't be a mouthpiece to your clients in the court. You know, the tendency always remain. The clients will tell you, please argue this, please argue that. No. Advise your clients. You're a lawyer. You're an officer of the court. Tell them that, listen, if you're saying this, this is wrong. And don't just act as a mouthpiece. Your client has said something, you go and blabber it out in the court. Please don't do that. Argue on the basis of the file, on the facts and the law. Show them the law. Explain it to them. That's your job. So while arguing, you are actually to assist the court arrive at a judgment that will result in bringing justice. So whenever you argue in the court, keep in mind you are part of a great legal system, and your assistance will help you bring justice in the society. You know, that is also the reason, because you're officers of the court, you're assisting the court in a very huge requirement of bringing justice to the, it's a huge objective to bring justice to the society. And that is why you realize that you're not liable under the GST or any service tax or nothing. Just for this reason. You are in a noble profession, and that is why it is called a noble profession, is because you're beyond being a mouthpiece of your client or some kind of a money making machines. You're first and foremost the officer of the court, and you're assisting the court arrive at justice. With this in mind, you are to get that passion and argue in the court. This is how you will be able to show to the court that your arguments is based on law, the facts, and the judgment and the evidence, all in tandem. And that's how your arguments will assist the court in passing an order in your favor and in favor of justice. I'm not saying you are not to judge right or wrong. That's for the judge to do. I'm not saying just because you feel, oh, something wrong has been done, you give a wrong argument before the court. No. Hear the facts of the court. Hear the facts of your client. See the pleading, see the evidence. Don't judge. You're not here as a judge, you're a lawyer. So after listening to your client and without judging whether he's done wrong or right, you prepare the case, you prepare the arguments based on facts, on evidence, on law, and present it before the court so that the court can actually arrive at what is justice. Accordingly, you prepare your arguments and present your arguments in the court.